Hello, it is 9 a.m. in New York, 4 p.m. in Johannesburg, and 9 p.m. in Bangkok. Welcome to In Transit with Sundae-Bean. I'm an intercultural strategist, transformation facilitator, and solution-oriented coach. And I am on a mission to help you adapt and succeed through any life transition. Today, we are talking about triumph in transit. And to tell you the truth, we are often in this phase and completely miss it. It means that all the potential satisfaction and pleasure that we gain from being there is missed because we're not doing the right things to notice. I'm going to talk about the fourth phase of transformation today. It is part of our 4-part series on transformation. You might recall episode 301, The Crumble, 302, Infinite Possibilities, and 303, Fight Mode. What happens after you've gone through this whole journey and you fought to get where you are and you land in triumph in transit? The problem about not being mindful of this phase is that you have this opportunity to truly enjoy the fruits of your labor and might miss it in an instant. Because why? Because our lives are constantly in transit. And if we are in old modes, like our fight mode, but in a new phase, we actually miss the best part of the phase we're actually in. I'll go into more detail in a little bit, but if you're asking yourself, Sunday, I don't even know what phase of transformation I'm in, I haven't listened to these podcasts yet, then all you got to do is spend 2 minutes and check out the quiz that we have in the show notes. It will tell you in a playful way where you are right now and then what you can do. I talk about green lights, things to do more of, and stop signs, what you want to avoid for each and every phase. And here's the thing. If you know where you are, but it's not this phase, it's still worth listening to because our lives are often in sort of a messy cycle and you will come around to this area eventually. So you want to make sure that you're using the right strategies at the right time. So it's worth listening to all 4. Okay, I want to be really transparent about this topic of triumph in transit. Originally, I planned on just diving straight in on what it is, right? It's a place where you are harvesting the fruits of your labor. It's a place that you've worked so incessantly to reach, and now you're there and you can just enjoy what you've built. And I was going to just dive straight in to things to avoid and things to do more of. But what I couldn't shake was the fact that this very morning, I was looking back on my life in transit. I had a moment where I missed my life in South Africa. Here I am in Switzerland. I love my life here. There's many new things. It's not that I want to go back or wish I could rewind and change something, but it still means that there is longing for a time that I experienced there. And what was I longing for? I was longing for the triumph in transit. Right now, I am in somewhere between infinite possibilities and fight mode, right? We have recreated our family in a new continent. We have, put our children into institutions that they've never been to, in languages they haven't spoken academically. I've taken on new roles that I haven't had before. And I'm working on finding a way to get my exercise routine that I really enjoyed back in South Africa here, right? So my life is not there anymore. And this morning, when I was thinking about triumph in transit, I remember longing for that. I was longing for when my routine was set, when my health on point, when date night fixed, time with the kids guaranteed. And that is the point of triumph in transit and being aware of it, is often we have to experience it and realize we were not fully embracing it, have it watch us, pass us by, and land in the crumble until we really appreciate where we were. Now, this isn't a way to look back with regret. I should have paid attention to it. I should have celebrated more. It's actually as a way to look with inspiration and say, hey, You got there once. You can get there again. Okay, so today we're going to look at what you should do if you've done the hard work and you are now starting to feel the fruits of your labor. Then how can you stay there as long as possible? Because as my mother always says, well, she quotes it from other more famous materials, but this too shall pass, right? This is also a phase which I find so fascinating. My clients are in triumph in transit. They are like, I have the house, I've got the kids, I'm doing the work I want. And now Sundae, I don't know if I want it anymore. I built this life and I don't know if this is it. And actually, what's happening is they have done the work. They've gone through all the phases. They fought for it. And now they have it. But the question isn't, did I do something wrong? But more, what's next? Right? What's next? Oftentimes I talk to people who have wonderful lives and they feel guilty for not being more joyful about everything they have. And of course, they should be practicing gratitude. They should be putting things in perspective in terms of the privilege that they have vis-a-vis someone else. Like there's a lot of work that they could do to appreciate where they're at. But often, and when they do that work, the question is not, did I do the wrong thing or am I not appreciating enough? But is it hard to hear the question, what's next? Do I feel guilty about saying this isn't enough, right? Who would ever say that about having house security, relationship security, family, right? No one would want to say that out loud. And it can also be true that you have that and appreciate it and are called to do something next. It doesn't mean you're going to leave those things. It's that there's something new emerging on top of it. So when you're in triumph in transit, we want to be able to answer the question with an affirmative yes on, is the juice worth the squeeze? When you work so hard in fight mode, now you have what you have. Is this worth holding on to? Or are you ready to transform into something new, right? So what happens often in this phase that people do is that they get there and then they self-sabotage. They say something like, well, that was just luck, or this is as good as it gets. And they're not really building on what they've already done. So we're going to look really quickly on a few stop signs and a few green lights if you're in triumph in transit. And the thing is, what I find very interesting about this phase is people have this idea that when you get to the phase where you have the business, with a revenue that you're hoping for, or your relationship has a depth of connection that you were yearning for, whatever it is, they think that their life is going to be easier. But I'm sorry to tell you this, the reality is that your life is probably even more complex than it was before. Your life is still in transit. You now are in a thick of soup of new changes, and your body's changing, your health is changing, your relationships are changing, right? And some of my clients have said, Sundae, it's like you burst my bubble. You think once I made it, let's say in my marriage or as a parent or in my business, that it'll be easier. But that's not true, right? I don't think it ever gets easier being a parent. It just changes. Same thing with your business. Same thing with your relationships, right? So what do we do with that? If that's true, that things don't get easier once you've made it, because we are breaking up with the idea, this triumph and transit, that now everything is simple. Then what do we do to actually put in some ease, right? And the first thing that you can do is stop upper limiting, right? So a stop sign here is stop telling yourself, this is as good as it gets, right? So maybe you're saying, well, my partner and I don't fight anymore. Really? All that hard work and your goal is just not to fight? What if you could go even further and create connection, right? So upper limiting might be in your business. Well, it's okay. I've got, 5 clients, but are you happy with that? Or do you want to have 8 clients, right? Telling yourself this is as good as it gets is upper limiting. And if you remember from the other phases, infinite possibilities is exactly that, infinite. You got more in you. There could be more ease. You could be doing less for more money, right? That's the thing. Stop upper limiting. And I understand how easy that is to do. The other thing we need to stop doing is failing to recognize your success and achievements, right? I often watch people say that I just, okay, I'm here and it's amazing, but it was just luck, right? And that is such a shame for all of the relentless hours that you put into your growth, into the courageous questions that you asked, into the things that you learned, maybe things that you invested in or studied. So one thing you can do instead is to pause and to notice what are the steps that took you to get there, right? I always say that celebrating is noticing. Really just say, hey, honestly, here's what I did to get there, and name those things, right? That will help you get there. And some of you, there's a bonus here around doing that. When you take stock of everything that you did to get there, you automatically put yourself into a better position to mentor others. You can use the hard work that you've invested, not only to repeat that for other areas of your life, but to share that with other people, right? So definitely pause, take stock. What have you done as a parent, as a business person, as a professional, for your health, for your sport, whatever it is, to get to where you are today? And maybe you said, hey, I set my alarm at 5 a.m. every day. Or like me, I'm like, I made my disgusting smoothie even though I didn't want to drink it, and I did it, right? So what did it take to do that? So if we accept the fact that our lives are constantly in transit, we have to accept that we won't stay in triumph in transit forever. That's the whole point. Triumph means to feel the satisfaction or the pleasure in that phase of transformation, right? And so the question is, what are some of the mistakes that people make when they're in this phase? It actually sounds like an amazing phase. But like we talked about before, life doesn't just get easier. You just build better skills to handle what life brings you. So some of the things I think that we, myself included, I've done this, I say this to my clients, and we all need to be aware of, is when we are in this phase of, triumph and transition, and we've finally are experiencing the things we'd hoped for. One of the biggest things I see people do is that they completely forget that they haven't always been there. And that means they forget to look back and celebrate the 1,000 steps that it took, the 1,000 things they did to invest in where they are today. So that's one thing I think that people do wrong, is that they actually miss out on celebrating. And I don't mean in a braggy sort of way or like self-congratulating way. I mean, celebrating is noticing and giving yourself the opportunity to feel that satisfaction, to feel the pleasure. Why not feel triumph in transit, right? We are going to need that joy bomb, because what happens probably next is probably the crumble, right? So you want to stay in that phase and enjoy that phase as much as possible. And that's one thing that you can do. Take stock of what it took to get there, what you did, what was your contribution. And of course, maybe you have access to resources that other people don't have. Or of course, there might be an element of right timing. Fair enough. And you also put yourself in positions where you would try something new, where you would learn from a mistake, where you would go forward, right? So give yourself the credit to take credit where it's due, right? And note it. And this automatically puts you into another opportunity. Now, when we're in triumph, in transit, you have figured something out that other people haven't. Maybe people are on your level or ahead of you, fine, but there's a lot of people that are further down the road in their journey. They are 500 steps back, right? And on your journey, you've learned where the boulders are and where the potholes are to step around, right? So in that process of taking stock of the steps it took to get you there and bring you that success, you automatically position yourself to be a mentor for others on their journey, right? And their journey won't be exactly like yours, but there's some hard-earned wisdom that you have that others can benefit from. So if you are in triumph in transit, consider how you might be able to show up as a mentor to others. Maybe it's as a parent, maybe it's as a coach, maybe it's as a professional, maybe it's a community leader, right? If you have done the work and you fought the fight and you are there and are now experiencing the fruits of the labor, you can pass that on to others and make a positive impact. The other thing you can do is when you take note of that, you ask yourself, hey, what worked? Let me just do more of that. What worked? Do more. And that will help you stay there longer, right? But of course, our lives and our businesses are always in transit, and we can't always avoid the changes that are going to happen. And we can't always predict them. Again, we have internal transformation, external, and performance-led, right? So while you are in triumph in transit, soak it in, right? Take a moment today to pause on what you've built. Take a moment today to sort of soak in how good it is now compared to when you began this journey. So it's important for us to not take it for granted. And if you are in this phase of triumph in transit, you can go even further to hold on to this satisfaction and pleasure by checking out my episode 190, Scale of Wholeness, where what you're doing is you're calibrating and not just goal achievement, but how's it going with the balance of your health? How about your connections? Are they feeling meaningful? Are you getting as much space as you need to think? Do you feel on purpose, right? So check out the scale of wholeness, because the good thing that you've got now and what you're harvesting now could be even better if you look at it from this lens of scale of wholeness. Now, if you are absolutely not in this phase, maybe you're back in the crumble, right? I want to give you some hope. It is worth paying attention to triumph in transit and recognize when you have been there in other times of your life. As I mentioned about missing South Africa, missing the routines we had, it gives me sort of energy, hope, comfort going, hey, my life wasn't always like that. There are things I did to establish that routine, to feel that joy, to be able to get that success. And now I'm implementing those strengths, those strategies, and those solutions that I've built in other contexts, right? So if you're not feeling the triumph right now, it is okay, because it will come. And you've been in that space in other areas of your life or other times of your life. And if you can go back and look at how you got there and know that it comes, and even if it goes, other areas of your life will also land there. It will give you hope. Okay, so there you have it. Triumph in transit. It is one of the phases of transition I think we don't talk enough about. And I think the disservice that we do is that we're not cherishing the work that we've done in the way that we could as deeply, and we're not getting as much pleasure out of it, right? So why not? Who doesn't want more pleasure and satisfaction? The other thing is we're missing the opportunity to take stock for exactly how much we've learned, and therefore forget that we could actually be a mentor for others. So, triumph in transit, I hope that if you are there right now, you're going to apply some of these things to stay there even longer. And if you're not there right now, I hope that it gives you inspiration on where you have been in your life, and that how you can take those steps that you did then to get you there now in a different flavor, different form, but you got this. It's coming, right? Just do the work and look back at the episodes, whether you were in the crumble, infinite possibilities, or fight mode, and trust the process. All right, so back to the topic of mentorship. If you are living a life in transit, let's say you are part of the globally mobile community and you've lived abroad for 14 years and you've moved country and you've, got certification and to help other people or whatever it is, and you're feeling pretty okay with things. You're pretty proud of how you've shown up for yourself or your family, and you haven't yet taken the next step to mentor others. I think you and I should talk. You might be the perfect fit for Global Coach Coalition. It's where we take the tools that I use to support people whose lives are in transit and teach you those tools as well as support you in growing your own business. So you can keep your business at Triumph and Transit as long as possible so that you can help other people get to Triumph and Transit in their own lives. Right? So check out Global Coach Coalition. I've been talking about it for a few weeks in the group in our In Transit Hub. You can also get inspiration by coming to our free challenge, the 2023 Ambition Challenge. Now listen up. If you're listening to this and it's past the date, still jump in our group, the In Transit community, because you can check out the recordings then, or you can be in contact with me and we'll help you get what you need. All right, everyone. I am so happy to celebrate these 4 areas of transformation with you. I want to just remind you that our lives are always in transit. Wherever you are in your life or your business is totally okay. I hope that what you're taking away from this 4-part series is that all you have to do is recognize where you are in that thing that means the most to you right now, and then just avoid those stop signs and do more of the green lights. And the rest will take care of itself, right? And if you want to fast track it, or if you want to make sure you've got the right support at the right time, let me know. I've got Adapt and Succeed and my coalition by my side to help you. Thank you for being here today. This is In Transit with Sundae-Bean. Thank you for listening. I will leave you with the wise words of poet Jean-Baptiste Poquelin. He says, "The greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it."